Dre, do you think, so Rod Anderson got another question. Should Michigan hire a passing game coordinator? Says Gaddis seems like a run game coordinator. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, my problem with that, like you guys remember a few years ago, I think it was 2017 when we had Pep Hamilton, and I'm trying to think who the other office. It was like co-offensive coordinators that we had. I can't think of the other one. Why is it, was it Drevno? Was it Cole?
Tim Drevno was around at one point, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might have been.
I know we had co-offensive coordinators, and I remember an issue at that time that a lot of Michigan fans were talking about was maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. Kitchen. Too many cooks. That could be a problem too. You don't want, I know that's designated sides of offense, passing and also running, but who's making that final call? On that particular down. I think it's a decent idea to explore, but it can also cause other issues such as even more contemplation or what type of play that you run. If anything, to be quite honest with you, was it Rod
Yep.
Anderson? To be quite honest with you, if you need to think about getting a passing game coordinator and you already have a good running game, maybe you need to find a coordinator who can do both. I much rather consider that route than trying to have another person in there, and that complicates things a little bit. That's just me.
Yeah. Mark, what about you? What do you think? Should Michigan hire a passing game coordinator?
It's funny because everything Dre was talking about, what it reminded me of, especially since the conversation we just had about 2018, reminds me of Ohio State in 2018 because they had two excellent defensive coordinators, Greg Schiano, Rutgers head coach, Tampa Bay head coach. They've got an NFL head coach coaching the defense. Plus, they had Alex Grinch, who's now at Oklahoma, who tore it up at Washington State after he left Ohio State. Took like a 120 defense in the country and made him a top 30 defense. So you would think, oh, we got all these 4 and 5 stars, got these two defensive coordinators who obviously know what they're doing. It should all work. But the problem was, that we had two defensive coordinators and nobody was the guy calling the shots. So they probably had their differences. And there was also talk that Schiano made it way too complicated coming from the NFL and didn't let him just play, and too complicated of a formula. So I think that always depends on the situation. That was a bad situation. You could certainly hire a passing coordinator and it could work. You would just have to make sure everybody knows their roles and everybody knows what the deal is.
Yeah, I look at, obviously the ideal situation is LSU of 2019 with Joe Brady. But I'm a believer that coaches have egos and pretty big ones. And if a coach feels like he is qualified enough to be a passing game coordinator, he probably feels like he's qualified enough to be the offensive coordinator. So, and not that, he would do anything to sabotage, any program or anybody, but I just think I think it works easier when you have one guy who's calling the plays, because you just get a flow of things. So where, a flow of the game, and you kind of see, we may run the ball to set up, this play action pass, different things like that, or this formation, gives us a better look for the run game, to where if you're, if the head coach is just saying, run and pass, you're just kind of, I'm curious on how that flow happens and goes, but I'm a big believer, just give it to one guy. We even look at Gaddis and when he was at Alabama, him and Locksley, they had a weird press conference thing where they, Locksley said Gaddis didn't call plays. Gaddis said he did. Locksley said he didn't, and it's just kind of it adds complexity that I just don't think is necessary. Like you said, Dre, if the thought is we have an OC and we maybe need a pass game coordinator, the thought probably should be we need a new offensive coordinator.